So let's talk goldfish then. This is my goldfish tank. I bought these 5 today. That's Pinky. If you're familiar to the channel, you know Pinky. I don't know why the camera's blue. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is talk through how I keep goldfish and what I do with them and how to feed them, how to breed them, all that sort of exciting stuff. So first things first, when I get goldfish, we have a look at this one here. Let's see if I can get you down there. No. So there's a few little like scale marks and like little bits of scale missing and stuff like that. Now that tells me either because they've been outdoors, so the pH might have been swinging and causing some issues with the goldfish. I find pH can be funny when they're outdoors. If the KH is low, you'll get pH swings in ponds, and that's why like people who keep koi, they'll use oyster shell to harden the water, so you lose the pH swings. So that's one thing it could be. Another thing it could be flukes. So what I tend to do, let's talk about quarantining your goldfish, right? So I'm going to do it in this tank, and I might nail all the plants doing it. This tank is a 100 litre tank. I would start with something like this, and I'll fill it up because it's a nice volume of water to play with. I'll get the goldfish in, and what I'll do is I'll treat them with a discus, dewormer and fluke treatment, and I'll treat them with that. And then what I'll do is I'll add salt. So I'll bring the salt up, so I'll put like 1 tablespoon per 5 gallons, I think it is, and I'll do it by like, so if it's a 100 litre tank like that, I'll put 5 tablespoons of water in a 100 litre bucket, and I'll do big water changes. Now the cool thing with this is you can start your tank, kind of get your tank set up and get, once you've cycled the ammonia, once the nitrite starts climbing, the ammonia is gone, then you can get your goldfish in there, because when you lift the salt levels, it protects the fish. See, you can see the little fluke marks maybe there, or there's something going on with the scales that tells me it needs treating, right? But that's what you can do. You can kind of treat with salt, and it protects the gills and stuff from nitrite poisoning. So you can cycle, and then what I do is I'll set up a tank like this. I'll set it up so there's 100 litres, and I'll cycle it for ammonia, and then once the ammonia is gone, I'll get the goldfish in. I'll build it up by like 1% of salt a day, up to 3%, by doing water change. And I'll take water out, and what I'll do is I'll add the salt, so I'm raising it by 1 part per day, so over 3 days. So I'll make a bucket with 10 litres, and I'll add 10 litres of water as I'm changing the water. But I'll literally change water every day when I'm quarantining goldfish. And then at the same time, you can be cycling the display tank. Always keep a 100 litre tank around if you've got goldfish. They're so handy. So many medications where you can calculate to 100 litres. These Sarasacomets, and I'll treat goldfish with a discus wormer. But what I'll do is I'll set it up first and get the salt. So you're treating for the likes of ick with salt, and you can smash like an ick cure at the same time. I'll get feeding the likes of de-shell peas. Get some peas, put them. If you want me to go in any of these subjects in more details, let me know. But what I'll do is I'll get a de-shell pea. I'll get a load of de-shell peas. Get them in, like I'll mush them up a little bit so if the goldfish find it easy to eat. Get them in, and that'll clear the digestive tract out, because it's kind of like a laxative to them. It's full of fibre. And another thing I'll do, get an absolute ton of duckweed on the surface. Now these, in the next couple of weeks, I'll nail all that duckweed. It'll all be gone. Once they figure out that they can eat it, there's bits of cucumber in here, they'll nail that. Loads of fibre. I feed goldfish about 4 times a day, but that's how I quarantine them. Do that for 4 weeks, and then I'll get them in the display time once I've treated with salt. I've treated for ick, and I've treated for internal and external parasites. And then goldfish, there's some bloodworm going in the tank. They should go nuts for this, but I don't know whether they know what it is yet. I'll treat that, and then feeding wise, I'll feed them like as many times a day as I can, just small meals. This is a bit over the top for show, and see if they go for it. But what I'll do is I'll feed like a pellet, staple. This is Saki Hikari. it's a fancy goldfish food. But if we look on the back here, one of the ingredients is astaxanthin. It's a carotenoid, and it makes the red on goldfishes redder. I fed it to me Manica Peru and they went bright red as well. Everyone was going nuts about the colour of me Manica Peru, and that's because of this stuff. But I'll feed small quantities 4 times a day. You can even get an auto feeder, put it on, get your stable pellets in there. I've been trying Heron's food at the moment, and obviously Lucky's Ranchu. This is the colour pellet, and they've got a growth pellet that's full of protein. But the colour pellets, that's got the astaxanthin in it as well, so it's colour enhancing. There's quite a few with it in. So typically I'll feed bloodworm, I'll feed pellets multiple times a day, and I'll get some veggies in there like peas, obviously duckweed, stuff like that. Get that in there and it'll clear out the system. Just feed little and often. Goldfish are grazers, aren't they? So little and often. And you're going to say, well, that's a lot of food. What do you do about the water quality? Well, today I've just drained it down to here, and every time I get a chance I'll drain it. Like, do it daily, do it twice a day. The more clean water the better. There's an argument that they release a hormone called somatostatin, and the hormone limits the growth. So the more water changes you can do, the better for your goldfish. They'll grow faster, they'll grow healthier. You can tell with a goldfish's eye, like you can see its eye will be massive if it's stunted. I absolutely love the colour of this one. It's got a, look at that. But I couldn't see any. The easiest way to sex a goldfish, if you look at them pectoral fins, as they get bigger, on the males, the pectoral fins will get thicker, and they'll get breeding stars on the cheek. That's a male. That one's a male. It's got a couple of breeding stars on its gill plates. I'm hoping this one's a male. I can't tell at the moment. Like, I can sex males really quickly. Oh yeah, that looks like a male. So that's a male. That one looks like it's got breeding stars. So I've definitely got, that one's definitely a male. And then there was another one that was definitely a male. This is definitely a female. You can see by the rounded body shape she's carrying eggs, but plenty of protein will get them ready to have eggs. And then water changes every time you can. Make water changing as easy as possible. People are going to be like, well, I don't want to do that much water changing. Got loads of plants in there. Elodiodensa, we've got a what do you call it, Limnophilia sessifolia. And the one thing I've noticed since I've got the goldfish in here and I've been feeding heavily and often is the plants that were struggling are all starting to explode with growth because they're getting loads of nutrients. But as I say, I'm doing loads of water changes. You can do that. I'm going to treat with salt, so I might annihilate a lot of the plants, but I'm not worried about that. Another food that I'll feed regularly is a spirulina flake. Find that they really go for that. It's good for them. Veggies, proteins, and your bloodworms, your staple pellet, which is obviously it's a balanced diet for them. Just little and often. I know this is over the top, but I wanted to show me goldfish off. I'm made up that one's a male, but if anything I can keep that one going, and then Pinky, the female. But there was I'm seeing breeding stars on quite a few. That one's got breeding stars by the looks of it. But if you look at the front of the pectoral fin, the males have got they get like a thick bicep at the front. They're quite easy to sex, and the females round there. And the anal fins, I've always found it hardest to sex them off the anal fins. I'll just look for the breeding stars and the round females. But as I say, these are my favourite type of goldfish. And then temperature wise, this tank's at 25.5. I keep them at tropical temperature. They're more active, the metabolism's faster. Like I was saying in my last video, especially with the likes of fancy goldfish, people keep them at lower temperatures and they start eating the high nutrient foods, and they go down because the nutrient food's full of air and stuff like that, and because the metabolism's slow, like they struggle digesting it, and the next thing they're floating at the top and people think it's swim bladder. Now it can be swim bladder, but sometimes raising the temperature up and getting some peas through them can clear it. It's not actually the end of the world. So yeah, packets of bloodworms, and then what you can do is get 400 litre ponds, or whatever size ponds you want, get them outside in the summer. My advice is to get a paddling pool and like a cheap plastic greenhouse. Get the paddling pool in there, get some filtration going. Now, filtration for a goldfish tank, loads of plants is a must, I think, in a goldfish tank, because they just produce constantly. They're constantly grazing, constantly producing waste. Now, I recommend like hang on the back as mechanical filtration, like a cheap one, just to constantly pull it, something that you can constantly get in there and tamper with, make it easy. Loads of water changes, make it easy. And if you're going to run a canister filter, try and do something where it's not collecting the waste, it's just growing beneficial bacteria in there. One thing I always try and suggest is use ceramics. Like this is Biohome. I always recommend trying to use stuff like that as opposed to plastic bio balls. I think beneficial bacteria have an easier time growing on natural stuff like clinker glasses and stuff like that, and ceramics and stones. So I always recommend using stuff like this if you can in your filtration media. Try and use something that's easy to maintain to pull the particulate matter out the tank, and then something to do the beneficial bacteria. Loads of oxygen, get loads of oxygen running in your tank, similar to this. You'd want as a display tank for goldfish, but instead of using the sharp rocks like this, especially if you're keeping fancy goldfish, use like river rocks, rounded stone. And then like there's two reasons why the sponge filter's in here. One, because it was already cycled when I set the tank up, so it's literally just blasting beneficial bacteria around the tank. And the other reason is if I'm going to run an air stone, I might as well put a sponge filter on it. So, and I want an air stone in there anyway, and I've got one each end of the tank. So if you use this and then get yourself some Anubias, stuff like that in there, epiphytes, easy plants, get like the LOD densa, duckweed and hornwort, Limnophilia sessifolia, any sort of plants that like stem plants that are really simple to grow, get them in there. The goldfish might nibble on them, but every time you pop into your fish shop you can get them for like £2, £3. So it's just like posh salad for them. Get them some brine shrimp, Daphnia, live foods, frozen foods. Like there's so many options feeding them. A couple of different types of pellet. Oh, rapashi. God, I forgot rapashi. Try and feed them rapashi as often as possible, like see Soil and Green. There's Aranda Gold. There's loads of top quality foods on the market. You can even make your own gel foods if you get some gelatine, and you can get like premium fish meal and white saltwater fish. Blend them up, get some blanched veggies in there, like carrots, peas, broccoli, anything like that, sprouts. You can blitz it up and put some vitamin B tablets in there. And in the summer, if you got some ponds, you get some little ponds set up with some nice filtration going on it. And then what you can do is select like a male, say like him when he's big enough, and then here, put them in together. What you want to do is you can keep them inside during the winter, and then try and lower the temperature a bit. Get them outside, let them cool down a little bit for over a period of a month. And as the temperatures naturally start rising outdoors, they'll start breeding. And then once the goldfish have laid, and usually lay early in the morning, then you can get the adults out and just leave the eggs in there. And I can talk about fry foods, like you can boil eggs and use the egg yolks. You can culture Infusoria or Paramecium. You can use Hikari first bite. There's some cracking little foods designed for Caradina shrimp that you could also use. Like the world's your oyster. And then once they start getting big enough, you can get them onto baby brine shrimp, micro worms, everything like that. Everything that you'd use for the likes of rainbows and angels, all them type of fish. Like goldfish will take the same sort of food, but you want to get loads of protein in them, get them loads of water changes, get them growing fast, Goldfish are your best friends if you're doing water changes. People say that they're beginner fish. I don't really believe they are. I believe they release far too many pollutants into the water, and they are extremely sensitive to some of them things. I think, like people say, they live in muddy water. I've always struggled if I'm not doing regular water changes. You stunt them, they start getting the likes of ulcers. It's just change water. It's that simple. It's that easy. But that is an overview on how I set out to keep goldfish. If you want any more information, ask me in the comment section, and I'll be happy if you want me to do any more videos on like making food, doing quarantines, setting up tanks, anything along them lines. Let me know and I'll do it.